Nobody expected Martell and Harper to find themselves locked in a quiet, destructive war. Out of everyone, Melody was the most shocked. What began as mutual admiration between two accomplished men soon spiraled into a messy battle of pride, rivalry, and subtle betrayals. At first glance, Martell and Hill seemed perfectly aligned. Both were ambitious, both charismatic, both admired by their peers. They shared stages at events, applauded each other in interviews, and appeared side by side at gatherings meant for the elite. From the outside, it looked like a strong brotherhood. But behind the charm and public smiles, a storm was slowly forming. This storm wasn't about money. It wasn't even about fame. It was about something far more dangerous: influence. Different worlds, same stage. Martell's energy was impossible to ignore. Loud, bold, unapologetic, he didn't just walk into a room, he owned it. You felt him before he even spoke. His confidence filled every corner. Harper, on the other hand, carried himself differently. He was deliberate, calm, and always measured. Every word he spoke felt as if it had been drafted for a book. He was polished, thoughtful, and never raised his voice unless absolutely necessary. Two men, two different approaches, but both wanted the same thing: to lead, to control the narrative, to be the one people listen to. And when personalities like these clash, it doesn't happen in a fiery explosion. It happens quietly, in the shadows, where no one is watching. That's what made it so dangerous. Nobody saw it coming. The real turning point was Melody. Melody wasn't just beautiful or presentable, she was respected. People trusted her because she never let herself get caught in messy drama. She was sharp, disciplined, and always composed. She knew both men personally. She worked alongside them, shared professional spaces, and was close enough to each of them to be trusted. That closeness was exactly where the problem started. When you stand between two powerful men who both want control, being the middle person isn't just uncomfortable, it's explosive. At first, it was small. Martell would casually ask Melody questions like, "Do you and Hill talk often? What does he think about our project?" The words seemed harmless, but the tone grew sharper with time. His curiosity turned into suspicion. Hill wasn't any better. He would make smooth, calculated remarks. Martell's energy doesn't really fit this kind of room. Do you think he's ready for something this big? These weren't just comments, they were digs, subtle attacks carefully hidden under polite conversation. Melody felt it early. She sensed that pressure building. It was like standing under a calm sky while knowing a storm was already on its way. She tried to push it aside, telling herself, "They're grown men. This isn't my battle." But she was wrong. The tension always finds its way to the person in the middle. The real break happened at what was supposed to be a harmless gathering. A private event had been arranged. Business owners, creators, and influencers gathered in a dimly lit lounge filled with music, laughter, and expensive glasses of wine. Both Martell and Hill showed up. They smiled for the cameras, shook hands, and gave their usual performance of camaraderie. But the vibe was off, very off. It began with nothing more than a look. Martell caught Hill's eye after hearing something he didn't like. Probably a remark Hill had made about leadership. Nothing harsh, but enough to sting Martell's pride. Martell approached him. The exchange wasn't loud. There was no yelling, no dramatic scene, but the words were sharp, the tone heavy with tension. Everyone in the room felt the anger hiding beneath the calm. Melody, once again trapped in the middle, tried to ease the moment. She placed her hand on Martell's arm, hoping to settle the rising fire without embarrassing anyone. But the damage was already done. The entire room shifted. Conversations went silent. Phones stayed down. Nobody wanted to risk being part of something bigger than they could handle. That night marked the shift. What had been quiet tension was now real, open, undeniable conflict. The fallout was immediate. Within days, group chats lit up with theories, DMs filled with speculation. Everyone who had been at that lounge told their version of the story, and every version made the situation worse. Martell's circle swore Hill had been throwing shade for months, questioning Martell's credibility. Hill's circle claimed Martell was reckless, too emotional, dragging his personal insecurities into professional spaces. And Melody? She became the centerpiece of rumors she never asked for. Whispers spread. Was she closer to one of them? Was she playing both sides? Could she be the reason behind their feud? The answer was no. But in a world of whispers, truth doesn't matter. Narratives write themselves. Martell responded the only way he knew how, through passion. He started posting cryptic messages on social media. Loyalty should never be questioned. Silence says more than words ever will. Fake smiles don't hide real intentions. He didn't tag names, but everyone knew. Hill, being the more strategic player, stayed silent. Instead, he appeared on a podcast, his voice calm, his message polished. He spoke about authenticity, about how ego destroys relationships built on respect. He never mentioned Martell, but he didn't need to. For Melody, this was exhausting. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friends wanted gossip, colleagues asked where she stood. Even her closest allies began pulling away, afraid of being dragged into the mess. Then came the moment that changed everything. Scrolling through her phone one night, Melody found a screenshot from a group chat she wasn't part of. In it, Martell had written, "Melody's playing both of us. I'm done protecting her." Her stomach dropped. Not because it was true, it wasn't, but because she realized the war had shifted. This wasn't about rivalry anymore. It was about betrayal, or at least the illusion of it. And then came the secret. By accident, Melody stumbled across a conversation left open on a device. It was between Hill and another associate. At first, it seemed casual, but as she read deeper, she understood the truth. Hill had undermined Martell. Months earlier, Martell had pitched a major project to an investor. Hill secretly beat him to it, securing the deal using inside information only a select few knew about. Then, he sat silently while Martell ranted about the lost opportunity, pretending he had no idea. Melody froze. This wasn't ego. This was strategy. Cold, calculated. For days, Melody carried the weight of this truth. If she told Martell, the quiet war would explode. If she stayed silent, she would be protecting someone who had deceived them both. One night, after waking from a dream where Martell walked away never knowing, she couldn't take it anymore. She messaged him, "We need to talk in person." When Martell arrived, the room grew heavy. He stood silent, arms folded, eyes locked. Melody showed him everything, the messages, the dates, the proof. He didn't yell, he didn't curse. His expression barely shifted, but the silence was sharp. His jaw tightened, his fists clenched slightly. Then he nodded, turned, and walked out. Within 24 hours, Martell went public. He didn't name Hill, but he posted a long, emotional timeline of the failed deal, suggesting someone close had manipulated the process. The internet instantly knew who he was talking about. Hill responded days later. His statement was smooth, dismissive, calling Martell's claims wildly misinformed. He urged people to avoid drama built on emotions rather than facts. But Hill underestimated how quickly truth spreads. Fans connected dots, pulled receipts, and exposed timelines. Screenshots appeared. Anonymous voices spoke up. Hill's polished image cracked. Through it all, Melody remained silent. She never revealed her role, never defended herself publicly. But inside, the toll was heavy. Friendships faded. Projects were canceled. Trust was shattered. And she began questioning herself, not for telling the truth, but for ever getting close to either man in the first place. Weeks later, Martell reached out. He wasn't angry anymore, just tired. He told her he wasn't mad at her. He was simply exhausted. Exhausted by the games, the ego, the endless competition. Melody listened quietly. She had nothing left to give. Hill never called. never messaged. Not even a thank you for keeping parts of his secrets hidden. Eventually, the noise died down. People moved on, headlines shifted to new scandals, but the damage remained. Martell and Hill would likely never speak again. Too much pride, too much betrayal. Melody started over quietly. She built smaller, more peaceful projects, away from the spotlight, away from whispers. None of them walked away clean. Not Martell, not Hill, not Melody. But maybe that's the reality of life. Sometimes truth doesn't heal wounds.
It just clears the smoke so you can see what's left behind.
For Melody, clarity was enough. Peace was enough. And that's how this war, this silent war, finally ended. At the end of it all, Martell and Hill's story wasn't about winning or losing. It was about how pride, secrets, and silence can destroy even the strongest connections. Neither man came out unscathed, and Melody was left carrying the scars of being caught in the middle of a storm she never asked for. Their feud became a reminder that influence often costs more than money or fame. It costs peace. And sometimes, no amount of truth can heal what's already broken. All it can do is clear the air and leave you standing with clarity, ready to move on.